Hi, hello. Welcome to the episode of Isaiah's Newsstand. It's your host, Isaiah Edwards. The date is December the 3rd, 2024. Hopefully, this episode finds you well, in good spirits, and high hopes. As for me, I'm doing pretty good. Today was busy, definitely busy. Another busy one. Another cold one. I mean, I guess I should just get used to that. But yeah, definitely the body is adjusting to this cold. I will say we wore layers today. We were smart. So that was good. Definitely helped out a lot. The heater held. So we love that. But yeah, just really busy. A lot of motion at work, but it was good. It was solid. This is a random aside, but I find myself watching, and I'm sure this is irrelevant to probably all my listeners, but I've been watching more League of Legends streams lately. And for the uninitiated, I really don't watch too much TV. Outside of that I watched an episode of Arcane season 2, which is crazy that I started thinking about it. I've watched more League of Legends than I have Arcane, which is a show I actually enjoy, but I don't actually want to sit down and watch it for some reason because it's TV. But I'll watch some random streamer play it. I don't know. I don't know what's wrong with me. But yeah, I don't know anything that's going on. Like, they keep using these abbreviations and words and all this stuff. And it just goes over my head. Like, they're talking about top lane and they say jungle a lot. I'm like, what is that? What's going on there? But if my streamer's having fun, then I'm having fun too. I don't know. That's kind of my logic. But yeah, overall, day was good. Work was good. Let's see. Gym was packed. We had to fight for ours. We had to get our spots. But overall, I got most of the machines I wanted. It was a good workout. Hopefully, it starts dying down on Wednesday. That's the usual vibe. But we'll see. Fingers crossed. But yeah, let's see. Food Corner last night. Food Corner was a doozy. I did too much. My eyes were bigger than my stomach. I paid the price, which I gotta say, I've been paying the price for the past 48 hours. I'm eating too much. I'm doing too much. But that's kind of my vibe, at least until I start getting to tomorrow. Honestly, I'm kind of glad that we started adding soup hump days. I think that's a good vibe for me. I need it the way I've been eating. But yeah, last night, what did we eat? It was the Mexican beef and rice bowl featuring chicken. I don't know why I did that. I think because I didn't have any bacon, which I usually put in it. I was like, you know what? We can do a little protein substitute add on, even though it's you don't need to sub it out. Just take it off. I've been kind of debating that. Maybe I could live with less bacon. Maybe that would be fine. And then I do it for a day, not even, and I go, you know what? We should add chicken to this too, which it was just much for muchness. But yeah, I had the white rice with it, refried beans action, peppers galore. We had some jalapenos, banana peppers. It's the whole kit and caboodle. I've done breakdowns on this meal before, but I will say the difference this time is I had a whole other half of a baguette to use, and I didn't have to use it, I guess, to that yesterday, but I was like, no, I'm gonna make the choice. I want to make French baguette tortas, and that was kind of a vibe. It was yummy, but it was just, once again, too much. It was much for muchness. I did not need all that food, and I even added a couple of tortillas. One I toasted in the air fryer. Mistake. It was like a chip, and I half of it, and I was like, done. Don't want this. Yuck. And then I literally just had to bust out another tortilla and just have that. But it was kind of nice just to have just a default tortilla, not even cooked or nothing. I don't know, kind of had a vibe to it. It was like giving Taco Bell. I don't know. Maybe I'm being weird about that. But then I had two kinds of chips, tortilla chips and some of the Doritos nacho cheese chips. So I was just being a glutton last night. Let's just be real, straight up. And I paid the price today. And I even stopped myself towards a little bit past halfway through the meal. I had just finished up most of the bread or the torta situation, the makeshift torta situation. I was on the butt end of the last piece of bread, and I was like, I should stop. So I was like, all right, I'm done. I'm cool. Call it. But yeah, I should have called it sooner. But overall, it was yummy. It was definitely yummy. I would, coming back to it, if I did that again, which I mean, this is like a staple meal. I usually do something to that effect. I probably won't do a torta like that again. I think you got to be all in on the torta being the main star of the dish, not a side. That's way too much. And, probably don't need the Doritos. So you probably cut those. And oh yeah, I think the main thing that I didn't need was the damn chicken. Like, and we're talking chicken poppers, y'all. It's not like I was cooking with like the chicken thighs. I've done that before, and that's usually really yummy and good, and like really works well with what I'm doing. If I'm gonna do, the ground beef, which is the default main meat I use. Which I know it's pretty cheap. It's pretty, low grade, if you will. But I like that. I'm a ground beef kind of guy. So, I really should have just stuck to that, kept it a little bit more minimum, and I was just greedy, and I paid. I paid for it dearly, dearly. Anyway, that's enough for the blogging. I feel like I, yapped a little bit too much there, but I always feel like that. I'm always self-conscious about my yappage. Yappage. Anyway, also, apparently, I forget what dictionary it was. Hold on, I'm about to look that up real quick. Brain rot word of the year. That's what I'm looking for here. Oxford University Press named brain rot word of the year in 2024, and I couldn't fuck with that. I always like these words of the year. I know one I think said demure was a word of the year, and then also brat was one from another one. I like that. I think that's fun. It's a reminder that the English language is always changing and evolving. And like for me, as I get older, I really would like to be a person who embraces these things. And like, yes, I know I'm gonna be cringe. I'm 34 years old, saying some things that I don't need to say as an elder millennial, but I'm gonna keep saying them, and I'm gonna keep learning new words and trends, because I think that's important. Not that it's like, oh, it's what keeps you young, but like I want to have conversations with people where like I'm not talking down to them because I'm refusing to get with the times. When you're younger, that's all you're doing is staying with the times. You know what I mean? Like you don't have to give that up. I think people give like they make that choice willingly because they think it's stupid, and they start clinging to like what they've known and like the history of things. And it's like, that's cool and all. You can enjoy that and appreciate that. I think that's important to preserve. But like, you also have to accept that the world is always a constantly changing, progressing thing. Like, and if you're not moving with that, or at least accepting that, then you're going to get left behind, and people are going to be like, yeah, fuck you, you old fuddy-duddy. You know what I mean? Like I forever think about this pediatrician I had when I was like growing up as a little tyke. And like I remember I told him, I think it was around the time I had just found out about Outkast, which was like kind of late in the game for me. I think it was like 13, 14 or some shit. And whenever Hey Ah came out, like whenever the Speaker Box Left Below dual album came out, that's when I got into like hip hop for real, for real. It wasn't just Linkin Park for me. And I remember like the doctor, the pediatrician, whatever, he'd asked me like, hey, what music are you into? Like he was just making conversation. And I said like, yeah, I mean, I listened to a little bit of this, but I listen to like a lot. I've been listening to like hip hop and rap and stuff. And he goes, ugh, that noise. And I just remember being like, you motherfucker, like take the stethoscope off my chest, you bitch. I was so offended and upset. And it's like, why are you making me feel bad? Because I'm not listening to fucking Elvis Presley, you fucking douche. I'll never forget that shit. And I vowed I would never be that guy. I would much rather be my dad, who was like, hey, like, you playing that what did he call it? He would call it the GameCube. Or not the GameCube, he called it the X Cube. Yes, that's what he would call it. It's obviously see, that's me already getting old. He would call it the X Cube or the Game Box, and I remember like, Dad, come on, like it's not that at all. But like at least it was like him attempting. I think everyone appreciates that more so than, once again, the old fuddy duddy who's like, yeah, what you do is stupid and dumb and gross, and I don't like these new words and phrases. Like, especially too when they're like reworks of like old things. Like demure is a word. Like it's not like that's a new fucking bing zop boom thing. It's just being used more because some influencer on TikTok said the word. You know what I mean? I think that's fun. I think that's cool. Just like brat. You know, I mean, I knew about brat stalls as a kid. You know, and I know about brats. I watched Rugrats. I saw Angelica. Like, come on. Like, it's fine that this is like having a renaissance. You know, thank you, Charlie XCX. So anyway, I know I said less blogging, and then what do? More blog. What can I say? Anyway, let's do our startup and then let's get into some news. Ooh, with a burp too? Okay. From CNN, martial law reversed in South Korea after president's surprise decree sent shockwave. So this was like a progressing story throughout the past like 24 hours. South Korean President Yoon Suk Yeol's cabinet has reversed a martial law order in the country. Excuse me. Just hours after he issued the surprise decree that plunged Seoul into political uncertainty and sparked fierce backlash from lawmakers across the political spectrum. The cabinet decision came after Young backtracked on his short lived decree in the early hours of Wednesday, local time, and withdrew the troops deployed to carry out the order. Always have to add, especially if you're like, the Midwestern citizen who's listening, that's like a day ahead for us. You know what I mean? Oftentimes, if I'm talking about some shit in Israel and Gaza, that's also like shit that's like a day ahead. But that's just world news, baby. But anywho, South Korean lawmakers who had scrambled earlier in the night to block the martial law order with a parliamentary vote are now calling for resignations, which I think is apropos. I think that makes fucking sense. Let's continue. I'll get to it and have my 2 cents on the table. The opposition Democratic Party says it will begin impeachment proceedings against Yoon if he doesn't step down immediately. We will not sit idly by and watch President Yoon's crime of destroying the Constitution and trampling on democracy, the party said. President Yoon should immediately resign voluntarily, while the leader of Yoon's ruling People's Party, People's Power Party, which I think is actually a very cool name. They win there. People's Power Party, PPP. You down with PPP? Yeah, you know me. I'm not down with PPP. Fuck them. They're really weird and cringe. But anyway, Han Dong-hoon apologized to the public in a statement to reporters Wednesday morning and called for the country's defense minister to be fired. Which is cool that we're all pointing fingers at people, but essentially he's like, yeah, don't point him at the main guy. Don't point him at, like, our dude. Don't do it to the president. Clearly this is the defense minister's problem and his fault. It's like, bro, all y'all motherfuckers should probably be sacked. Like, if any of these motherfuckers in this party, y'all all assholes. What the fuck is happening? What's been happening, bro? And there's scandals and shit like that I'm not getting into in this article, but that's all lead up to this kind of shit. But essentially the party has been scrambling, and this was like a very much a knee-jerk tantrum-like reaction from Yoon to say, hey, actually, you guys are being subversive. So subversive that you're being like anti-South Korea. You're being pro-North Korea the way you're being so subversive. And it's like, where's your evidence to back that claim? Because that's a huge claim. But that's the kind of claim you need to make in order to say, hey, we're going to do some fucked up shit like nation state wise to our own people here. Let's go. And it's like, no, man, you can't just push that kind of button. And once you do it, it's so hard to then pull it back. Like, I can't remember. I think it was Ecuador. I think that might have been the last time we talked about a martial law situation. And in that situation, to my memory, we were talking about criminals who had escaped prison and shit like that, or there was like some kind of like takeover of like a television. Like, there was a lot of shit going on here. And even then I'm like, look, I understand why you're enacting this, but like, this needs to be wrapped up immediately as soon as possible, because it's like you can do so much shit under a martial law. Like, essentially, you can start arresting people. You don't need a warrant. Like, motherfuckers can't do anything political because it's like, hey, that's against that's against us. You're getting locked up. We talked about the doctor protests and shit of that nature in previous episode. That immediately would be like, hey, you guys have to actually get back to work because there's martial law. You can't be fucking shit up right now. You're being subversive. And it's like, this is the kind of shit that just gets out of control very fucking fast. Also, it's important to reference, kind of getting back to the article, the last time a South Korean president declared martial law was in 1980. During a nationwide uprising that led by students and labor unions. So you can imagine that that's something that leaves a sour, bad taste in people's mouths, because that's not something that sounds okay and cool back then, and you're bringing it up for more or less the same kind of reasons, where it's like, we want to suppress people who are being against us. We want to stop the opposition. Like, it's very clear cut. So, and I want to get to actually what was said in the article here. The president accused the main opposition party of sympathizing with North Korea and of anti-state activities, citing a motion by the opposition Democratic Party, which has a majority in parliament, to impeach top prosecutors and reject a government budget proposal. These are all things that are within government. Like, you're not you're allowed to do this. You're like, as an opposition, like, there's nothing wrong with that. It's not being pro North Korea to do these things. Especially, obviously, we're talking about, I disagree with you, the people in power. Like, what are we talking about here? This is a democratic process at work. So for Yoon to kind of pull this move is so desperate, and it's so bad. To the point where I would think this would be something that's going to completely tank them for elections in the future if, he doesn't step down and decides to, stay in power. I mean, obviously, even if he does, like, he would be replaced by, someone within the party, I'd imagine, right? So there's that. But, like, yeah, clearly your shit is going to be sunk, I would imagine. But granted, they did replace a liberal power before. I believe, what was that, in 2022? I'm not, like, super hip or privy to, South Korean politics or whatever, but it seemed like, there was kind of a lull in the Liberal Party. People wanted to see some kind of change, bit of, like, I don't want to say listlessness, or just like people felt lost. And a guy like Yoon in the People's Power Party kind of put this kind of spin on it, like, well, they're the problem. If you put us in power, we're going to make Korea, I hate to use it, but, like, more or less the vibe of, like, we're going to make Korea great again. We're going to get back to fighting North Korea instead of being all subservient and, just to kind of use the vibe and phrase I feel like they were trying to imbibe, but I don't think they actually use the word. We're not going to be cucked by North Korea. You know what I mean? We're going to fight back. Where it's like, really what's happening here is like, no, we're having maybe some of the best relations that we've had with North Korea, and that's good. And you kind of see, well, I say we kind of see, I haven't really covered it a lot, but there's been a lot of ramped up activity, especially since 2022, since Yoon has been in power, which is also something that is a tick against the party, because it's like, no, tensions have just been ratcheted up since you've been in power, because you're doing this whole, like, yeah, we're going to fight against y'all. And it's like, no one wants that. No one wants escalation like that. You want to see more diplomacy more times than not, So that just is what that is. I'm trying to think, is there anything else I really wanted to pull? I know that there was a lot of tensions on the streets, just with, like, the actual military and law enforcement out, and people being like, what the fuck is going on? Stop this shit. Like, coming out to government buildings and being like, stop this, please. So, there was definitely a lot of unrest. I was seeing a lot of what the fuck on a lot of social media. So, I was like, I'm definitely covering this shit. We're definitely talking about it at least a little bit. And I will definitely keep you posted on, I guess, potentially what might come next, if anything. I mean, it does seem like things are ratcheting down, which is good, now that, things have been backtracked and rescinded. Because like I said, man, martial law is scary shit, dude. I feel like that's the time where you can see the worst out of, it's a top down thing where you can see the worst out of your government in these moments because they're coming out kind of potentially against you depending on what's going on, and then you just never know what's going to happen because like the whole country is now going to get plunged into this situation, and we don't know what's going to happen next, to the left or right of you. You know what I mean? I feel like that's like the closest to like real life purge shit. You know what I mean? Not that like, oh, that's going to go down then, but like, you know what I mean? Like, it's really crazy. I feel like the energy is really scary. Like, in my heart of hearts, like that's something that would spook me, as if there was like ever a martial law in like, I don't know, Ohio or some shit. You know what I mean? Like, damn, like we've had some national emergencies or some shit, but never that. So at least not in my time. Anyway, well, that I can remember. Anyway, let's move on to our next story. From the USA Today. Cruise passengers stage hunger strike after Antarctica trip is rerouted. Now, this is a bit of lighter news. Taking a bit of a dip here. A group of cruise passengers staged a hunger strike after their Antarctica itinerary was cut short. Hold on, let me scroll down to get the name right. Swan Hellenic Diana, I believe is the full name of the ship, or the ASH Diana, encountered an unexpected malfunction with the propulsion electric motor, according to Swan Hellenic CEO Andrea Zito. The vessel was forced to sail to, I'm going to get this wrong, Ushuaia, Argentina, losing 3.5 days of planned exploration in the Antarctic Peninsula. The change took place 2 weeks into a 21-day sailing. Many guests paid roughly $8,900 to $12,600 for the cruise, which departed from Cape Town, South Africa on November 13th. British newspaper The Times reported. Swan Hellenic offered guests a 50% refund, or a 65% future credit, cruise credit. Zito told USA Today in a statement dated November 29th. The line also said guests could take excursions and use the ship's facilities while waiting for their flights. Now, let me ask y'all, does that seem amicable? Does that seem fair? Because to me, it does. You know what I mean? Look, I'm all for getting yours. You hate to see that you put up all this time and money into a trip and it's getting cut short. And you can easily feel ripped off by that. But I would say a company giving me at least half of my money back for a trip that we did, from what it sounds like, 2/3 of it. Now, granted, I don't know, maybe the real banger was on the last week and you're completely getting like ripped off with this and you just got on a fucking boat and you're cold for what? I don't know. I'm not hip to this shit. But at least looking at the numbers here, that seems fair. That seems cool and on the level to me. I would take my money and go home and be like, damn, didn't get the most of my trip, but at least I got half my money back. I don't think you're going to catch me doing a future trip. I'm good on that. I'm probably not booking anymore. Maybe you might get a mid review at the very worst from me, but that would be it. But that's not enough for some of these people. Some of these people are like, nah, we're getting ours. Let's see. Let me scroll ahead. 3 Russian guests posted up outside an onboard dining room. Mark Stranton, who was on the ship at the time, wrote for the Telegraph. Swaddled in blankets, they bore placards calling for a 100% refund of their voyage, Stratton wrote. Zito did not specify how long the passengers participated in the action. The strike has since ended, and technicians are working on the vessel. So, I mean, this is a bit of an empty threat. They said, hey, we're going on hunger strike and we're going to sit up in our blankets. So this definitely lets me know that it was pretty cold. Makes sense. But they couldn't see it through. They didn't really have the gumption for it. And I don't blame them. At the end of the day, you could just get some food. It seems like it's comped, right? You're going to be good there. So I don't know, man. Maybe just hang out, do your thing, and wait for your shit to come back so you can go home and you can like blog about it later. And once again, 50% sounds good, or 65% in the future sounds fine. If you're going to do this shit again, you're going to roll the dice again. I mean, it is the Antarctica, right? I mean, and not to mention, it's a cruise. Like, I've said this before, I'll say it again. I'm not a cruise guy. I'm anti-cruise. I know, I don't even really feel like I fuck with Tom Cruise that much. If I'm being real with you, Mission Impossible is cool, and Tropic Thunder. Him is was it Les Grooveman or whatever, bro? That shit was hilarious, bro. But yeah, I mean, I'm not the biggest Cruise guy. I'll say it. I'll say it again. Um, if you got me on a cruise and some shit went down, I'm not fighting for my rights anymore. Get me off this fucking boat. I knew I was right. Get me out of here. Get me home. Period. I'm definitely not getting a future cruise. I'm getting out of here. And I'm gonna be happy to take my 50%. And I'm definitely not gonna be hungry. God damn it. I'm not adding to my problems. So yeah, this was just something to talk about. I was very curious when I read the headline, and then I got into it, and I was like, oh, okay, all right. This just sounds like cruise situations. But that's me. I'm living in worst case scenarios. That's part of the reason why you're not catching me on a cruise. I'm thinking we're gonna be the next Titanic every time. And I would just be happy that these guys are not letting me get, sliced up by an iceberg. You know what I mean? I get to go home. So hell yeah to that. Anyway, let's move on. Let's talk a little bit little tech stuff from Reuters. Intel's ousted CEO Gelsinger, I'm gonna say Gelsinger, to receive up to $12 million payout. Ever get fired and then get like fucking 12 mil? Actually, I guess he resigned, but whatever. Well, I mean, it's a severance. Let's dive in. Former CEO Pat Gelsinger could get as much as $12 million as payout. A regulatory filing showed on Tuesday, following his ouster from the struggling U.S. chip maker. The company said the severance payment would include $1.9 million as a base salary for 18 months and 1.5 times his target bonus of $3.4 million payable over 18 months. Gelsinger is also eligible for his annual bonus for the 11 months he served as CEO in 2024, bringing the total to about $12 million, according to a Reuters calculation. Gelsinger was forced out less than 4 years after taking the helm of the company, handing control to two lieutenants as Intel searches for a permanent replacement. Gelsinger, who resigned on December 1st, left after a board meeting last week during which directors felt his costly and ambitious turnaround plan was not working. The board told Gelsinger he could retire or be removed, and he chose to step down, Reuters reported. So there you go. It's weird, right? Because I hear a lot about Intel just listening, to my little news pods and whatnot and economy pods. And from the sounds of it, Intel is trying to do the best they can to put on a brave face saying look, we're building these, we're working with the government. We're building these new chip companies in the U.S. and it's going to be a big turnaround for America. It's going to be a big, boon for us. Everyone's winning. Not to mention these chips are going into AI projects and AI is the future, blah, 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 blah. But it's this just not working. It seems like people are not really rooting for these companies, these buildings in the US. I know we're supposed to have a chip manufacturer in Ohio, and it's supposed to be a big job creator, a big deal, but people are not betting on it. They're not investing in it. I guess the way that people are expecting from what I'm gathering. And they're saying, damn, how about anyone from Taiwan wanting to come over? Maybe we'll invest in them. It's bro, the lack of belief. There's no trust seemingly in Intel and this whole fucking gamble in terms of being hey, we're making shit that's going to go into AI and it's going to be the future and everything's going to be great. Just wait. And it's nah, man, we kind of want to see something else. Everyone's kind of invested in AI. This feels very saturated. We want to see more. We want to see something better, maybe, because maybe this AI shit is kind of mostly slop. It's not maybe the big game changer. But we'll see. I mean, maybe Intel is going to pull out of this. I mean, they're still big in the game, right? I know Intel, Nvidia, all that shit. They're still big names in the industry. So yeah, we'll see. We shall see. But this was a big shakeup. I did have a highlighter. Yeah, Intel is a leading manufacturer of computer chips and other semiconductor products, which are in high demand. Anyway, worldwide, not just in America. Excuse me. Let me go ahead and take my last break, and we're gonna close out with our favorite buddy in chief, Elon Musk. Or no, what did he call himself? He didn't call himself buddy in chief. He called himself the first buddy or something. Ugh, he's so cringe. I hate that man. All right. Now, actually, I want to give credit where credit is due. I got to give a couple source shout outs. This is initially from Bloomberg, but since Bloomberg wanted to paywall me, as they are often wanting to do, I had to go to Yahoo Finance to get this article that is essentially still from Bloomberg. So, yeah, here we are. You can't stop me. Anyway, Elon Musk's record-setting Tesla Incorporated pay package was struck down once again by a Delaware judge, threatening to wrest billions of dollars from the world's richest person and one of Donald Trump's closest confidants. Delaware Chancery Court Judge Kathleen Saint, is it Saint? That's a cool name. Saint J. McCormick ruled Monday that Tesla's board was improperly influenced by Musk when it adopted the billionaire's plan in 2018. It was the second time. Excuse me. Oh boy. Ooh, hat trick. Anyway. It was the second time she rejected the pay package as excessive, sticking with her original finding in January, even after shareholders backed the plan and Musk asked her to reconsider. They were undoubtedly a range of healthy amounts that the board could have decided to pay Musk, McCormick wrote in her 101-page decision. Instead, the board capitulated to Musk's terms. So essentially, Musk has been saying that he's like, look, dude, like, you guys have to make this worth my while. Like, you need me, you need my big brain, you need my big insights, but like really what he's meaning by this is you need me. You need my brand, you need my, like, me to be a part of this, to spearhead, like, head it, and to, like, put my time in. It's worth this amount of money. Like, it's worth this exorbitant amount of money. And essentially, he, like, made this big campaign the first time and the second time, and was successful both times. So I really thought the last, like, where we left the story, that he was going to get the payout exactly the way he wanted. Because I think in the revote, they, like, wanted him to give maybe even more money. And McCormick read that and was like, cool, but this doesn't rewrite history. Like, I made my verdict. The verdict stands. Like, I hear you, but I still stand by what I said. I think that he went out of his way to manipulate this, and this wasn't a fair thing. Like, the person who brought this up, I believe was it Tornetta, if I'm getting his name right, he was right in saying that this was a manipulated situation, and it wasn't right. It wasn't fair. And she also proceeded to make sure that he got a payout. Now, granted, it wasn't the payout that he wanted. It would have been in shares of Tesla stock, which would have, like, been up to like $10 billion, but instead he's getting like hundreds of millions of dollars. So I mean, it's not bad. Could have been worse for him. You know, at least he's getting his lick back in a way, and he gets to still say that he's right. Now, granted, this isn't over. It's still going to go to an appeal, but look, I'm just happy to see this guy take an L. I'm always happy to see Musk take an L. He's still going to be like the richest fucking guy on the planet. Like, woohoo, yay for him. He's still, once again, he has, Donald Trump's ear. I mean, at least until maybe they tear each other apart. But people keep saying that that's going to be a thing. Oh, just wait. And maybe so. But I do think that, like, Elon Musk has accomplished the mission that he wanted to accomplish by making the grifter pivot to, like, become a conservative, stan, which is like, hey, I get to get back into the government's good graces and I get to get the things that I want done. And, like, literally a part of this whole Doge Department of Government Efficiency thing, like, he's probably going to try to make any and all cuts and make any and all kinds of pushes he can to make sure that he has less regulation over himself, and probably is going to potentially get more money for his companies and shit. So he's still going to keep winning off of this shit. And not to mention, he's still going to get a good pay package here. Like, I don't think that's going to get stopped. It's just not going to be the biggest one ever. You know what I mean? So, I'll take it at the end of the day. But yeah, I know we've kind of just riffed this whole thing. Yeah, it was Richard Tornetta. That was the guy who was an investor or shareholder, whatever the fuck. I guess you can say you're both in that situation. But he was like, yeah, like, I don't feel like my money was, like, fairly represented here. I feel like Elon Musk manipulated this and put his hands on the scale, and, that wasn't right. That wasn't fair. This should be reevaluated. And, McCormick agreed. But that being said, I know that the board, they're protesting this, appealing this, so it's going to go to an appeal. So we'll see how that goes. I mean, maybe McCormick will get overturned there, and that'll be an update, or maybe it'll get held. And either way, I might still come back and talk about it, because, like I said, I love talking about a fucking Elon Musk loss, and I'm sadly compelled to talk about his wins, because they're usually pretty big. They're usually pretty epic. So whatever. Anyway, that's where I'll leave it. I know I kind of mashed, but we'll call it an episode for today. Let's see. If you'd like to help out, support the effort, I have a Patreon. Patreon.com/IsaiahNews. If you'd like to support the effort, that's how you do it there financially. Puts a smile on my face. And I do a shout out at the top of the month for you. The Newsy Roll Call. Get in. Get after it. But yeah, free ways to hit me up. IsaiahNews1@gmail.com. Feel free to follow me or the podcast on any of the socials. Always love to see a friendly face, have a conversation about some news, whether it be in person or digital, so that's your cue. Hit that up. Free ways to hit me up, or free ways to help out the podcast, I should say. Very newsy equivalent-esque. Subscribe to the YouTube. That's really helpful. Become a follower on this, the Spotify, what have you. That helps out my algorithm. It's just good to see a boost in the follower subscription count. I know for YouTube specifically, if I get to 500, which is a long, long road, I think I can start getting monetized potentially. At least it helps. It's part of the checklist that they give you. So, I'm always trying to get those rookie numbers up. You feel me? But hit the like button, leave a cool comment. Don't be an asshole. I will say I do appreciate a correction, but once again, don't be an asshole. Just be cool. Be like, hey, maybe you got that a little wrong. I will definitely give you a shout out on the corrections for sure. And it won't be negative. You know what I mean? But anyway, you can do that there. That's an option. That's a vibe. But sharing is caring. It can be fun. And that's it. That's all I got. Thanks so much for tuning in. Thanks so much for being a friend. And hopefully I see you soon for some more good news. I love ya. Bye-bye. Mwah.